let's begin the painting now. Using the same tonal values, using one saturated colour. I'm going to be using a blue watercolour. You can see I have a mini set over here, and I'm going to be using a bright Prussian blue for doing this. Now, the drawing part, I'm using the same image as I used before, and as I blocked out, I've got 6 different squares. I've done the same again on this image, and that's just going to help me with the drawing part. Because it's a bloom, because it's a flower, even if we've got one sort of bloom slightly bigger than another, it's not the end of the world. It's not like drawing a face. So this is just going to give me an indication of how to get started. I've worked with pencil slightly darker than what I would normally use, but I want you to be able to see the drawing on the page. I would advise you to work in a much lighter way, so that at the end of the image with a rubber, you can just go in there and erase all the pencil work that you do. So let's get on with the drawing to get started. Overall impression of the drawing, I quite like the fact that I've got this bloom coming up here, the bloom falling down, it's filling up the page. I haven't done every single bloom, that's not so important, because we are going to be doing this in a very free, loose manner. I don't want us to start off in a very precise, over-worried way of working. So I'm going to start mixing now a little bit of the blue colour that I would like to use. Right, I've got a few brushes here. A large one, a medium and a small brush would be absolutely fine. This is a number 18, a number 10, a number 6, and this is what we call a rigger brush. Very fine for detail, which I might be using towards the end. 3 brushes like these are fine to get started. So what I'm going to start doing is mixing some of my colours, and the first tone that I use, I want to be very loose first of all, and I just want a hint of the colour, the darker blue that I'm going to be using later. So I just want to create a ghostly impression, so I have used quite a lot of water in that pigment. Right, now to cover a large area, I'm going to start with the larger brush, and you'll be able to see how I want to block out, just begin to create very loosely the shape of the leaf. Right, and I'll have to keep mixing this colour as I go along. That's a lovely blue for a blue background here. Okay, so, and I'm just going in basically where the colour on the image is the darkest. Okay, this is the base of the bloom, and I'm just dragging the colour, just indicating more or less the shape of each petal. Now that I've got, still very abstract almost, just this lightest tone down, I can start moving into a middle tone and to start giving the image just a little bit more definition. So I'm going to stay with the same brush, with the large brush, and I'm going to mix some more colour, but this time keeping the pigment not at its purest saturated state. The saturated colour is the pure colour without black or white. But it is a little bit more intense than what I've been using so far. Right, as you can see, it really is making now quite a bold statement, the colour that I'm putting on, and I'm keeping it very loose and free. I've got light tones, middle tones. I've got some of the colour flowing. Look at how it's creating these beautiful shapes just flowing around the paper. And at other times I've been using a technique which we call wet on dry. Now this gives me these subtle little shapes which leave the background colour to shine through, and that is quite a good effect to obtain. If you can see over here in these particular areas and over here, we've got like a rough sort of scratchy effect, and it does create a little bit of contrast in the mark making from the lovely and smooth to this rougher effect over here. Contrast is always very, very appealing to the eye. Now I'm going to take the smaller brush, and now I'm going to use some quite strong pigment to give the final details and hopefully to bring it all together just with 3 different values of the same blue. Here's the final image now, but I still believe it does need a little bit of something extra, a little bit of fine tuning. So I'm mixing with the original blue that I was using, just a tiny bit of black. And you can see that I'm mixing, keeping it still very watery, very free and fluid. I've got a nice navy colour. It's not totally black. Black tends to deaden other colours, but here it's all very harmonious. It's still a dark colour, but because I have the original blue pigment that I used, all these different shades of blue are just going to harmonise together. But at the same time, as you can see with these very loose, free brush strokes, I'm creating a little bit of drama and a little bit of contrast just to finish off the image.